Good afternoon, everybody, from Ibrox Stadium, where Rangers have lost the Old Firm clash with Celtic by 2-1 here this afternoon. It all started so positively for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's men after Aaron Ramsey fired them ahead after a blistering start from the champions. It was a terrific, well-worked goal, you'd have to say. Calvin Bassey, we'll talk about him a little later on. Another impressive display from him. He was one of very few here today, but his ball got in behind the Celtic defence into the path of Ryan Kent. His square pass was sublime into Aaron Ramsey's path, and he made no mistake firing past the despairing Joe Hart with his left foot to send Ibrox wild in the opening stages of this game. They had Celtic rocking, there's no doubt about it. They were well on top. Rangers, they burst out the traps. And they could have had one or two more goals. They were all over Celtic at that point. Celtic's goal came against the run of play. It has to be said again, sums up very much Rangers' season so far. Just a mistake of their own doing, you'd have to say. A shot coming in from Hatate. It started initially. Calvin Bassey got the wrong side of Callum McGregor. He was able to cut the ball back. Hatate fired a shot at goal from the edge of the D. McGregor did well initially to save it, but he parried it right in front of Giakoumakis, and he made no mistake slotting the ball into the back of the net. The game sort of died down a little bit after a ferocious start. From then on, Celtic managed to get more of a foothold in the game, and they got their noses in front just around 4 minutes before the break. John Lundstrom penalised. He was the first player into the book from Willie Collum. There was a lot of frustration amongst the Ibrox crowd because there were a number of challenges that went unpunished before John Lundstrom received a caution for a robust challenge, to say the least, on Giakoumakis over on the far side, midway inside the Rangers half. The free kick was whipped in by Jota. It was a deep free kick towards the back post. Rangers failed to defend properly. Leon Balogun was at fault. He nodded the ball back towards the danger area in the 6-yard box. It struck John Lundstrom. He didn't know too much about it, and before he realised where the ball was, it was in the back of the net, as it allowed Cameron Carter-Vickers to fire home from close range through the legs of Alan McGregor. But when it's in close proximity such as that, he has little chance to save it. He did come to Rangers' rescue a couple of times in the first half. Again, sloppiness in the Rangers' ranks allowed Maida through on goal on a couple of occasions. The first time, McGregor did well to save at his feet. It fell to another Celtic player. The shot came in, and Connor Goldson with a last-ditch challenge to avoid the goal going in. The second time, Joe Rebo was at fault. Like he was, it wasn't his afternoon, and he has looked jaded, of course. It has been a criticism of his since he's came back from African Cup of Nations duty with Nigeria, giving the ball away cheaply at times, and he did so at the tail end of the first half as well. Allowed Maida through and goal. McGregor was up to the task, thankfully, on that occasion. Rangers came out in the second half, huffed and puffed. They had a number of opportunities, not really clear-cut chances, you'd have to say. They were firing crosses into the box. Celtic were able to defend well, and they managed to do so, clearing the ball away. The likes of Carter-Vickers and Starfelt nodding everything away pretty much. Kemar Roof had a couple of half chances, you could say. He had a volley late on from a Connor Goldson cross, a low cross into his path from close range, but he volleyed over the crossbar. He also failed to connect with a header from a Calvin Bassey cross into the Jamaican international. But Rangers just failed to get close to Kemar Roof at times, often punting the ball up long to him, and Celtic just simply, it was meat and drink to them. They managed to get the better of Roof on a number of occasions. He's simply not the same player as Alfredo Morelos, and Rangers do need to adapt their game to get Kemar Roof more involved than they did here this afternoon. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst made a couple of substitutions midway through the second half. He brought on Scott Arfield, and you got your usual energy, bite and endeavour in the middle of the park, and also Fashion Sakala down that right-hand side. Aaron Ramsey came off for him. He ran his race, but he worked tirelessly. I thought he did well, Aaron Ramsey, today. Fantastic goal, of course, in the opening stages. Nice little touches here and there. But Rangers really did need him fully fit a few games ago. There's no doubt about it. Fashion Sakala did well, as we've seen before, down that right-hand side. He posed Celtic a number of problems. He forced a save out of Joe Hart with his left foot from the edge of the box. But again, as we've said a number of times, his final ball really does let him down on occasion. And Scott Arfield, of course, we've discussed him, came on for Ryan Jack, who wasn't his best of games. Ryan Jack, I mean, he worked hard as he normally does, but often guilty of just slowing the play down, taking the ball up wrong avenues, and Rangers really needed more from their midfielder here this afternoon. John Lundstrom, I felt, did well in the middle of the park, but it was just Rangers just devoid of quality at times. And Celtic running out 2-1 victors in the end to move 6 points clear at the top of the Premiership table with 6 games remaining. You have to say it's pretty much insurmountable lead. It would have to take a monumental collapse from Ange Postecoglou's men for Rangers to claw that back and retain the title. There's no doubt about it. Just having a quick look at the comments coming in. Very much appreciated the interaction as ever. Mike Graham seems to be in agreement. No way back from 6 points down, I'm afraid. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And it's a story of Rangers season. Unfortunately, Gary Gray gets in touch here. Been a struggle all season domestically. Signings in the last couple of windows haven't made a significant impact. The squad needs a refresh and to move on from the reliance on Morelos. It's hard to disagree with your point there, Gary. There is going to be surgery in the summer. There's no question about it. Giovanni van Bronckhorst will be given the opportunity to bring in his own players and shape his own team. But certainly a number of players have to make way for that to happen, and it has been a disappointment domestically. There's no doubt about it. RFC 56 says we've needed a quality striker finisher for years. Yep, hard to disagree with that. Aside from Kemar Roof, it's hard to find anyone that's pushing there you could bring on off the bench really today. You've got Amad Diallo. He's not an out-and-out striker, of course. Cedric Eaton was recalled in January, but he's shown that he's not up to the task here at Rangers. So that is an area of the pitch that Rangers do need to bring in a player in the summer. And he's right there when he says we haven't scored enough goals. Absolutely spot on. The numbers attributed by the likes of Ryan Kent this season haven't been enough domestically. Joe Aribo as well. Of course, Yanis Hadji is out injured, which has been a big blow. But before that, he was finding the going tough domestically as well. Mark Heights says, having Roof as the main striker is just woeful. There was it's obviously an area of the pitch that Rangers do need to address. Dick Purdy says no physicality up front. Yeah, as I mentioned, Starfelt and Carter Vickers dealt comfortably, really, with balls that were lumped in there. Rangers failing to really impose themselves on the Celtic two central defenders. And that's why Celtic are coming away from Ibrox with all 3 points. Scott Methan gets in touch. Hi, Scott. Need more than a striker. Need 5 or 6 forwards who can be relied on to get consistent numbers. Can't disagree much in the way of that. Rangers haven't got enough numbers this season, and it's not just the Alfredo Morelos or Kemar Roof up front that gets you goals. Alfredo Morelos in particular has never been a 20-25 goal striker in domestic action, and Rangers have relied, especially last season, on support acts, players in and around him assisting with goals and assists as well, and they simply haven't had that this season, and that is the reason why they're trailing Celtic by 6 points at the top of the league table. Of course, next up is Braga. There's no time to feel sorry for themselves, Rangers. Joshua Barry, who's alongside me here this afternoon, down speaking to Giovanni van Bronckhorst, and a Rangers player they'll put up to speak to the media as well. We'll get all the reaction to that if you stay tuned to the Rangers Review site, rangersreview.co.uk. You'll get all the fallout from that. And of course, there will be a video shortly afterwards with myself, Joshua, and Johnny McFarlane as well, just reviewing what this result means for Rangers. And I'll go through a number of your points that are being made at the moment as well. But as I mentioned, next up is Braga in the Europa League. It's an absolutely huge game over in Portugal, and it's important Rangers, as difficult as this is, put this result behind them and concentrate on that game in Portugal in midweek. That'll do us there. Remember, if you want to subscribe to the Rangers Review site, we've got that fantastic offer on just now, just £1 for 2 months worth of content. You can also be entered into a prize draw to win a tour of Ibrox from a club legend as well. So stay tuned to the site for all the fallout from this game. As I mentioned, we'll be back a little bit later on for a more in-depth look at today's result. But it's been a disappointing afternoon here for Rangers and Giovanni van Bronckhorst and the players. They've lost the Old Firm clash by 2-1.